Hi, my name is Sadia Khan, and I am presenting my construction of my scientific model. Oops. Okay, so how the model works. The music box is a repurposed acrylic storage container that has the perfect dimensions and material to imitate a music box. So the features of the model include two switches, so one to power the light bulbs and one to run the motor, two light bulbs, a motor, two electrical wires, a trinket taken from a music box to help move the drum piece, a buzzer, BP connectors, barbecue sticks, and a cardboard drum. So now I'll just click on the link to show how my model actually works and sounds.
The model is my attempt on creating a music box. It is made out of a reused acrylic beauty box. The box has two sets of wires. The series circuit produces energy to the light bulbs, whereas the parallel circuit has energy to flow to the motor and the buzzer. The two circuits are powered by two battery cells and have their own switches. I also included a music trinket to ensure the drum piece rotates nicely, as you can see. I repurposed barbecue.
Okay, so that was my little recording on how my model works. So now the construction of the music box aligns with outcomes from stage 3, the physical world, STE1WSS. So plans and conducts scientific investigations to answer testable questions and collects and summarizes data to communicate conclusions. Outcome 2 is plans and uses materials, tools, and equipment to develop solutions for a need or opportunity. And the final outcome was explains how energy is transformed from one form to another. And the indicators include students to investigate how electrical energy can be transferred and transformed in electrical circuits and can be generated from a range of sources. Students are able to describe where light, sound, and electrical energy transform from one type to another. And the final indicator is design, test, and evaluate a product or system that involves an energy transformation to meet an identified need using electrical energy, sorry. So upon the creation of this model, stage 3 students will be engaging in outcome ST39PWST. So based on the NESA science syllabus, students will be working scientifically by posing testable questions such as how fast or slow should the motor spin, and how heavy or light the centerpieces can be. So students will practice cutting, bending, and joining wires to fit the music box. Managing resources safely will be evident throughout the entire constructing and planning period. So students will be able to revisit their predictions and justify any complications. So to further assess students' understanding, it is critical to utilize NESA's inquiry questions accompanied with the content and outcomes. Questions such as what types of energy transformations can be observed, how can electricity be used in a product, and how can we make a force stronger or weaker. So the music box utilizes energy to produce sound, light, and movement. Students will be able to view how complex a child's toy is and further explore how electricity is used in the products. So students can discover ways to make a force stronger or weaker through pushing, pulling, and adding weight to the motor. So working scientifically and design product skills. So stage 3 students will be working scientifically throughout the duration of the experiment as they will be creating hypotheses and justify any predictions that are made. So students will plan and conduct investigations when designing their music boxes. So students will have to be mindful on their bulb, switch, and motor placements. The choice of motors highly impacts the results of the model as well as the use of battery cells. Finally, the ability to accurately cut, bend, and measure materials aligns with the design and production component. Students will also demonstrate sustainability as they will be reusing, reducing, and repurposing items such as the acrylic box or cardboard boxes, sticks, and cardboard in general to create centerpieces. So scientific concepts needed to actively participate in the construction. So what is a circuit? Ideas such as what is a series circuit, parallel circuit, how to draw a circuit, what is inside a piece of wire, and what are motors used for. So a series circuit is when there is a single pathway through that electricity can flow. In this case, electricity flows directly to two light bulbs. A parallel circuit contains more than one pathway. The motor and buzzer still has energy flowing when I turn off the light bulbs or disconnect the light bulbs. the switch. So students will have the opportunity to explore drawing circuits and identify the correct symbols for representing motors, switches, and the battery source. Students may also investigate wires, how they work, what is inside a wire, and how to safely handle wires. So pedagogical content knowledge. So several components must be implemented in the classroom to effectively support students in working scientifically and safely. So my top 4 key components are the knowledge of content, which will derive directly from the NESA syllabus. Students will have a deep understanding of the purpose of the construction of the model. The purpose is to touch, feel, and see how electricity flows and works in a range of products. The second component is acknowledging emergent and advanced students. So as an educator, I must be aware and considerate of the range of learners in the classroom. So I must find ways to be inclusive and help all students understand the content and the construction of building a music box. My third point is assessing and feedback. So PCK involves knowing how to assess students and record their progress. Providing verbal and non-verbal feedback is important throughout the entire process. So point 4 is problem solving. As this model may be complex for some, it is important to be able to solve difficulties and misunderstandings that students will face throughout the experiment and just provide different pathways for students to continue working on their model. So difficulties constructing my music box. So an acrylic box is complex to restructure. Electrical tools were needed to create holes for the bulbs and the switches. Producing music was one of the most difficult parts of my entire construction period. So I initially thought that I could get a music trinket from an actual music box and try to see how that internally worked and then adapt it on my own way. So that definitely didn't work out for the better. So I had to compromise with a buzzer. So ensuring the light bulbs, motor, music trinket, and switches all remained intact and in place. It was really important for me to make sure that I measured everything accurately and everything was placed in the right spot, because I was using a compact box to work with. I had to use a hot glue gun, barbecue sticks to ensure that everything was sticking and everything was pushing in a nice way, like compactly, and then trial and error with the speeds of different motors. So I originally purchased a step down motor and it was actually going way too fast, and my centerpiece was spinning quite fast where it just looked very unorganic. So I did have to purchase another motor, which worked for the better. And the budget, definitely budgeting would be a difficulty for a classroom setting. So I wouldn't have used, I wouldn't have purchased multiple motors, and I wouldn't have purchased the actual music boxes to extract the trinkets out of. So student considerations, behavior management, this entire lessons and the sequence of lessons have to be manageable, and it has to be very direct with students, and you have to make sure that the standards are set quite early on. Accepting trial and error, not all plans work. So I initially came in high and tall thinking that I could make music from the music box, and I had to accept that it just wasn't working out in the time frame that I had. So compromise is really important. Health and safety, electrical wires, motors, and bulbs are all hazards in the classroom. So ensuring that everyone understands the significance of how important it is to be safe during this entire process. And pre-knowledge about music boxes, I think it would be smart to perhaps spend a couple of minutes or lessons discussing music boxes and what's inside a music box and how they work. And finally, the 2 key learning areas that align with the construction of my music box. So first one being is the English. So outcome EN3UARLO1 analyzes representations of ideas in literature through narrative, character, imagery, symbol, and connotation, and adapt these representations when creating text. So the content is recognize how character archetypes and stereotypes are represented in literature, analyze how engagement with characters within and between texts invite enjoyment of literature. So my entire music box was inspired by this book, Listen, that was written by Shannon Stocker. So it's about a deaf girl, Evelyn, that actually found a loophole to kind of listen to music through touch. So she used the touch and feel component to feel music internally, and in that way replaced that missing component of actually hearing sounds. The entire book was extremely engaging with a lot of literary devices, and it invites a lot of stage 3 readers to enjoy the piece of literature and see how stereotypes can be challenged, and how Evelyn challenged the stereotype of not being able to play and produce music because she was deaf. So the other component, which I think is quite evident, another KLA, is visual arts. So outcome VAS31, investigate subject matter in attempt to represent likeness of things in the world. So the content uses different artistic components, color, tone, light, scale, abstract, and explores how symbols may be used in their interpretation of selected subject matter. And the second content is closely observes details of things in the world and seeks to make artworks about these using various techniques such as proportion. So when I had to draw and paint my music box, I really had to consider proportion, because I could not draw one massive symbol and leave everything blank. So it was a lot of proportion, ensuring that I was drawing symbols and my ideas to the right sizing of my music box. I definitely explored color, tone, light, and the abstract components. So the entire book utilizes symbols from the title and from the actual cover page. It is clearly evident that the book is colorful and there's a lot of symbolism. It's very abstract in terms of it's showing the life and sound and the music that's extracting from the girl playing the percussion instrument. So that is the entire presentation, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my presentation, and I